he's put here, this is his headline: today's feminists just want to strip women of their rights. They're against female-only sports, prisons, public toilets, and any woman who dares to disagree is called a hateful, old, transphobic bigot. Surely that can't be right, can it? Surely a feminist, Nick, a feminist could not be somebody who would have those views and fight against the rights of women, could they be?
The biggest con feminists ever played on the public was convincing people that feminism was about equality. Feminism has never been about equality. It's been about special rights for feminists. Feminism is basically a trades union for other feminists. It's about power, about the elite. And now, I mean, we've had feminism in this country now influencing policy for at least 70 years. And every decade, women report more and more unhappiness. Every decade. Men's unhappiness has stayed the same. Women's is going down. It used to be above men, it's below men now, and it's still going down. Every decade, women report more and more unhappiness in the UK.
You mean less unhappiness? Oh, they're more unhappy.
More unhappy.
Oh, sorry, I see. Yeah.
So the more feminist policies we get,
yeah,
the more and more women are unhappy.
Yeah.
Why? Because feminism damages women. It damages the family. It damages community. But all we hear is equality, screams of equality. It's all about equality. It's not about equality. The main feminists in our country, people like Julie Bindel and the Australian woman, I forgot her name.
Germaine Greer.
Germaine Greer.
Yeah.
Even they say feminism is not about equality. Even they admit it. But
really?
Yeah, but nobody. I write about it in my book. Nobody wants to talk about it. So what's feminism done for women? Well, first of all, we will say it got women the vote, and it got women equal treatment under the law. Well, I'd argue it did, but let's say that's true. We seem to forget that up to 1918, working class men couldn't vote in this country. Yeah. Women had to wait 10 years longer to 1928. Exactly 10 years longer they had to wait. So at that particular point, they were treated unequally. But only by 10 years. Most of history, everyone's been treated terribly by the elite. Everybody was treated.
Yeah.
Women were not picked out for special treatment. In fact, men over history have been treated a lot worse than women. Let's look at the most evil man in the world ever, Hitler. Hitler killed twice as many Jewish men than he did women. So a man who hates Jews hated men more than he hated women. Look at the slave trade. Well, there's only one slave trade, the transatlantic slave trade. Other slavery never happened according to Black Lives Matter. So let's look at
But also a lot of the slave trade, I've been reading about this recently. Britain was not by far the worst of the slaves. The Portuguese. The Spanish were dreadful.
Yeah. And do you know who's worse than all of them? Black Africans.
The Black Africans.
Because they controlled the whole slave trade,
yeah.
selling each other into slavery.
Yeah.
But 20% more black slaves, male slaves, were sent on a transatlantic slave trade than women.
Yeah.
So men never had it bad. Yeah. I'm not saying bad things have not happened to women. What I'm saying is bad things have happened to both sexes throughout the whole of history. So let's look at other countries that never had feminism. Their women vote. So we didn't need feminism for women to get the vote. Equality was coming in our country anyway. Men started getting the vote, working class men, women got the vote. It was happening like that anyway. Feminists jumped on a bandwagon and were the first people to claim victimhood status. I'm a woman. So what did women do then? Women started invading men's spaces. So they didn't invade our sports, but they invaded our men's clubs, our golf clubs, the vault in the pub. They invaded everywhere where men went to be men, to teach men how to be men, where younger men would attend to hang around older men so they could find out how it is to be a man. They destroyed our single-sex spaces. And then we start looking at employment. So women now, I think it's 20% of all women, adult women in the UK are on antidepressants. 20%. Because they can't cope with modern life, working, being a mum and things like that. Up to feminism, one man working full-time had enough money to support a whole family.
Yeah.
But now, once women entered the market, we lowered wages because there was an oversupply of workers. And now, to have a decent life in the UK now, you need both a man and a woman working. One person can't do it anymore. So all these feminist policies, the people it's damaged the most are women. Now, I'm fully for equality. If the feminist movement was about equality, they would have called themselves equalitists. But they didn't. They called themselves feminists. And who's the baddie in feminism? The patriarchy. So the good guys are named after females, and the bad guys are named after males. It's a female supremacy movement, which again, I'll say it again, is damaging women.
So that was quite a rant. The specific points that this guy makes, they're against female-only sports.
Yeah.
Why are feminists against female-only sports?
It's not all feminists. So feminism at the moment is having a civil war. You've got radical feminists who we call TERFs because they don't want men.
So Julie Bindel, you mentioned Julie Bindel, who I think I've met Julie Bindel. She won't remember. I'm sure you've met her as well. She is a feminist.
She's a radical feminist.
Yes, but I know she has particular views on the trans question. Yeah. She doesn't believe men should be in women's spaces, in women's prisons, in women's sports. Yeah. You know, she's very, very vocal about that. So is this the bifurcation of the feminist movement? There's people like her who are saying, yes, we want levels of equality among men, but we don't want those things. Yeah,
so Julie Bindel is wrong in almost everything, apart from the trans thing.
I think she's very articulate and very
she's very articulate
and very.
She just hates men. So she's anti-trans because
I'm sure she shook hands with me.
Not because they're trans, but because they're really men, and she hates men. She sees all men as violent perpetrators and rapists. That's how she sees all men. But she's on, I think...
I'm not necessarily agreeing when I'm nodding, I'm listening to
on the right. She's on the right side of this in just one issue. So we've got progressive feminists and radical feminists. Progressive feminists are the woke feminists.
They're the pink hair, they're the
purple
hair.
Yeah. Trans everything, Black Lives Matter, let's have a revolution, I'm probably a communist anyway.
And what's wrong with them? So did I tell you that story? So I went to a Labour thing just before COVID. I think I've told you this story before. I went to a Labour thing before COVID, and it was Labour women against trans men in women's spaces. Yeah. And they'd been cast out of the Labour Party. They did this thing at Grenfell Tower, or at the base of Grenfell Tower, and the thing. And during it, the thing, which was quite horrific actually, they were throwing in, trans activists were throwing smoke bombs into the hall we were in. Julie Bindel was there, Debbie Hayton was there, who's quite a well-known bloke who's a trans woman. I don't like to use that phrase, but the phrase I like to use isn't acceptable. So it was a perfectly civilised thing. And then when I came out afterwards, we were walking away, all the protesters were out there. It got quite scary, actually, quite violent. I went out with the women to stand with the women so they could see we weren't being intimidated. But then when it all died down, we walked out, and there was a chap walking along with a pink-haired woman, and she saw me and Anna and said, she said, oh, look at them. She was in tears. She said, they were in there supporting these people. And it was a woman. And I was like, this is a woman supporting men to go into women's spaces. And I was quite shocked. And I think that's what you call a progressive...
She's a progressive feminist, yeah.
So what are they thinking?
So feminists really have been saying all my life.
I'm asking a man what a woman's
saying. Men and women are all the same.
Right.
That's what they've been saying. That's
progressive feminists.
All feminists have been saying that for a long time.
Yes.
It just happened to cross a line at trans when the radical feminists said, oh, no, this has gone too far for us now.
Right.
But up to that point, it was men and women exactly the same. We can do the same jobs. We've got the same traits. We're as physically strong. Women should be soldiers. Women can do this. Girl power. It was all that until it crossed a trans line. So progressive feminists now are saying, well, if men and women are exactly the same, well, if a man wants to be a woman, let him be a woman. Men did not invade women's spaces and women's sports. That's a lie. Men did not invade. Women invited men into those spaces.
They were enabled by women.
They were invited in.
Yeah.
So they turned up and started going in.
Which they will do.
That's
what men do.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is a civil war now within feminism over the trans issue.
Oh right, I didn't realise.
Yeah. So they hate each other. That's why men are not heavily involved, because they don't know what side to take, because There's women on both sides, and they both call themselves feminists. I don't know what to do here. So men are trying to keep out of it.
I see.
And should keep out of it, because it's like picking a side between Hitler and Stalin.
Yeah.
Do you know what? They're both going to kill you eventually. So just don't join us.
I also don't think most men are that interested in the trans thing.
No.
Particularly. Because it's not affecting men, is it?
Well, I think they are, because it kicks in with our natural protection of women. But
I'm sorry, yeah, no, I mean, apart from...
But we're not doing anything about it because we don't know who's right or wrong.
Yeah.
We have these women telling us men should use our spaces and we want them to use our spaces, and how dare you tell them they're not. So we think, oh, maybe we shouldn't. But then these feminists go, we don't want men in our spaces. It's like, so men don't know what to do because women don't know what they want.
Yeah. So in fact, what this guy should have said is today's progressive feminists want to strip women of their rights.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying. Because I wasn't aware of this kind of civil war between feminists or whatever. There was, I'm just trying to find it now, and it's probably not appropriate to scroll through. But there was an article that somebody in America who used to be not woke has become kind of woke. I can't remember what his name was now. But Elon Musk was in a Twitter spat with him, basically. And this chap was saying...
Was he the one who owns the
That's
football club?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you... So what this guy was saying, oh, women have got to have the same rights as men or whatever. So Elon Musk said something along the lines of, and he owns a basketball team or something. He said, so next year we're going to see 5'2" women in all the, 5'2" white women in all the key positions in on your team. And of course, that really flushes out the reality of what this is, isn't it? Most American basketball teams are black guys who are 6'5", 6'6". Yeah. There's no equality, or I don't know if I'm using...
Where are all the Chinese basketball players in America?
There is actually quite a famous Chinese basketball player, but that is true meritocracy, isn't it? And when we exhibit true meritocracy in a sport like that, you're going to end up with 6'10" black guys who are by far the best basketball players in the world, aren't they? And that kind of just throws the whole thing wide open, doesn't it? With that comment.
It's because people don't understand the word equality, and they get it mixed up with equity.
Yes.
So equality means you should never be stopped pursuing your dreams because of anything. But if you're rubbish, you're never going to get there.
Yes.
But we should not stop you trying.
Yes.
I want less women police officers. That doesn't mean I'm going to stop women applying to join the police, because some of them will outperform the men and will give them the jobs.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean we should have 50% female police officers, because that means we're taking less of a group of people who naturally won't make the best police officers.
Yes.
Equity sounds a bit like equality, but equity means you look at every situation, every institution, every career, and then you look at the local population and you split that up into sections, which means you need 50% Muslim people, you need 50% women here, you need, well, let's take it all the way down, you need 1% trans women here, you need 0.5% paedophiles here. Well, we can't split everything down to match the population where you live, because people have different dreams, different aspirations. That's why we have more Asian people are doctors or dentists or solicitors. Why? Because their parents are saying to them, work harder at school. I want you to be a doctor, a dentist. I don't want you to be a police officer. You might make an amazing police officer, but I don't care about that. I want you to be a doctor. That's why we're not having more Asians joining the police and moving up the ranks, because the kids who would be good at that are dentists and doctors.
Yeah, yeah.
You can't give people free choice and then complain about the outcome because they made the wrong choices.
So the guy is called Cuban, something Cuban.
Right.
He was a free thinker. Now he's a keen defender of the progressive left. And last week he was saying treating people equally does not mean treating them the same. And he said diversity helps businesses by employing people others do not. So Elon Musk said, cool. So when should we expect to see short white Asian women on the Dallas Mavericks NBA team? And of course there was no response to that.
I would imagine that guy's just got a new girlfriend.
And he's trying to impress her. Yeah. Okay.
If you like that video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell and comment. And if you like what I'm saying about running for Mayor of Greater Manchester, then stick around. Tell your family, tell your friends. The only way I'm going to have a chance of winning is a grassroots movement. So be part of that movement and hit that bell. Thanks.